Hey everybody, welcome to our presentation. I'm Trevor and we are going to be talking about image optimization for a blogger blog. Meaning, whenever you guys add an image onto your blog, we want to make sure that you're using keywords effectively so that Google knows how to recognize that image. And then subsequently, if done right, it raises the possibility that you'll actually get traffic to your blog. You can't underestimate the value of just optimizing your images as you load them onto your blog. Now, we're all accustomed when we're doing blogging to try to hurry and get our content on, and sometimes in the rush of trying to get good content put onto the blog, we forget about the fact that we need to do some search engine optimization on the blog itself, just like we would in any other web page. If you've got an e-commerce store, you do SEO for that. If you've got a blog, you still need to do some SEO on your blog. These are just Google best practices for trying to get your web pages found in Google's index, okay? And it's no different from a blog. So tonight, there's actually lots of different aspects of doing a blog SEO, and they're very similar to any other type of SEO. There's some little nuances that we'll discuss, but tonight, as far as what we're concerned is, we're going to look at specifically just image SEO. So I want you guys to all walk away feeling like you're experts as far as how to make images rank well and also help your blog rank well. Okay, that's the scope. So I'm going to make a little list with you guys. Let me bring up our wordcounter.net and we'll take some notes right here. Okay, we're going to call this blog image SEO. And there's really 4 areas that I want you to be concerned about. Now, before we started the recording, some of you guys hit on some of the things that we need to do. If you're going to do blog image SEO correctly, number 1, you need to optimize the file name of the image, okay? I'm going to just list them real quick and then we're going to go over them. Number 2, optimize your image alt tag, okay? Number 3, this isn't for every image, but I'm going to say optional. Do an image caption, okay? Do an image caption. Use, and I'm going to say optimize the caption, okay, with a keyword. All right? And then number 4, image size, not too big, okay? These are really the 4 parts of image SEO. And it sort of applies to any web page, a product page on your e-commerce site, you know, a product added onto a blog. It's these principles are universal, but I want to talk about it specifically as it relates to blogging, because I know you guys aren't going to just leave giant walls of black text on your blog and expect people to enjoy that. You're going to make your blog more interesting with images, right? But let's make sure we don't forget to optimize those images, okay? So, number 1, guys, what do I mean by this one right here? Number 1, optimize the file name of the image. What am I talking about? What's the file name of the image? And while you're sort of pondering that for a second, let me bring up my dummy blog for the day, and I'm going to create us a post. Let's do a new post here, and we're going to call this our this is our dummy blog post. That'll be the title for it. And then let me just grab some content, some dummy content here. I'm going to go to ESPN.com and just grab an article and just paste it into the blog as if that was actually our blog article, okay? Looks like we've got a hockey article here. Let me just grab part of this article. I'm going to copy it and put it onto our blog. Actually, Here you go. Let me break this up so it doesn't look so terrible. I know this really won't make a lot of sense, but that's okay. That's not the point. This blog is about images today. Okay, let's assume this is our blog post, right? Here's our content laid out. It's an awful lot of text. There's no images yet. We're gonna add in an image, and I'm gonna add in an image right here at the very top. Okay. So let me grab an image off of an image website here. Since we're doing this, since this is about hockey, I'm just gonna do a search for hockey. Now, where do you get your images, you might ask? See the previous presentation, because we talked about where to find images. So I'm just going to assume you know where to go to get images. This isn't about where to find images. You guys should know where to find those. Okay. Let me download this image real quick, so I've got something I can use. Actually, you know what? I've already got something I can use. We don't need to use a hockey image. I've got an image right here on my computer that I downloaded a minute ago. So if you're adding an image, right, you put your cursor in, you click the little image icon button right up here at the top, and we upload a file here. So I'm going to choose a file from my computer. Hopefully. Here we go. And let's go desktop. And let's just take this image right here. And I can add the image. So there's the image that I just added to my blog, right? Okay. So back to my original question, what's the image file name? That's really what we want to talk about here for just a second. If we go back to our original discussion here, the first thing we want to optimize is the image file name. Well, whenever you save an image to your computer, it has a file name, right? If you save it off the internet, or you create your own image, you take it with your digital camera, whatever the case may be, it's got some kind of file name. All images do. So the image that I just loaded onto my blog here, it has a file name, and when I uploaded it, going back to where we uploaded it just a second ago, when I went to choose files and I selected this image, here's the image file name. I know this is super small. I'm going to see if I'm going to copy that file name. Here we go. I'm going to copy this file name and just show you what it looks like. Okay, here's the file name. It's this right here. That's the file name of the image I just loaded. Now tell me, guys, what's the problem with that file name? Because remember, Google can actually look at this, right? In fact, Google will scan your image file names to try to understand what the image is about. So why then is this a problem? Well, that should be obvious, right? Because this image file name is called screenshot 2005-04-229 at, and then it's got a number. Not very good, right? In fact, I guess the file name came from the fact that we took a screenshot of this image before, and it just automatically saved this file. So the bottom line is Google has no idea what this image is actually about, do they? And if I were creating a blog post, and my blog post was on hockey, like we're saying this blog post is about, well, then I should probably name this something a little more relevant, right? I should probably try to use a keyword and actually optimize this image around something so Google has some sense of what this image is about. Does that make sense? So let's get in the habit of, anytime you guys are doing anything with images, when you save the image to your computer, oftentimes you can change the name of the image. Make sure you change it to a keyword that's related, okay? Now in this case, if it's a hockey image, right? I might call it hockey players on ice, and the file name, I think it's a .jpg, which is a type of image, right? We just want to make sure we're using a descriptive keyword here. Now, here's what you don't want to do, guys. You don't want to name it something it's not, just because you're trying to optimize a certain blog post. So if it's a picture of a hockey player, but you're trying to optimize your blog post for maybe you're doing a product review about hockey sticks, make sure that you actually name it what it is. If it's a hockey player, don't name the image black hockey stick. Name it what's relevant, right? And I know that seems a little obvious, but we don't want to try to trick Google into thinking our picture is something that it's not. If you can work a keyword phrase in there, then do it. If it's a hockey player holding black hockey stick, that might work. But you don't want to make it too long. I don't think I would do much longer than 4 or 5 words as my image name. Try to make sure you're using keywords correctly. Does that make sense, guys? You guys have questions about that, or do you see what I'm saying? It's hard though, because I don't know what kind of computer you guys are using. I'm assuming that you guys will know how to change your image's name. And if you don't, then at least on a Mac here, and that's what I'm on right now, on a Mac, if the image is right here on your desktop, and you can see my mouse moving around, I'm holding the image. A lot of times you can click once on the image name, and you can click again, and it'll actually give me a place where I can type it in. So I can say this is an image of a hockey player with black stick, okay? And then I click off of that, and I've now named it an actual relevant keyword phrase. Remember, guys, Google can't figure out what your picture is because Google doesn't see pictures. They just see file names. So make sure you label that a keyword phrase, okay? That's rule number 1. Are we good there? Do you guys need any more explanation on that, or are we good to move on to number 2? Stop me if you need more on this, but I'm going to move on to number 2. Guys, what is an alt tag? Okay, let's bring up our notes here. What's an alt tag? Number 2 is we want to optimize your image using an alt tag. Some of you guys might know about alt tags, right? Because we've talked about them before. How is an alt tag different from an actual image name? Does anybody know? If not, that's fine. I mean, that's why we're talking about this. I'm not getting a lot of feedback, so I'm assuming this is kind of new. I'll tell you what an alt tag is. For someone who might be unable to load an image. Now, I know that seems a little archaic. You would think that on any sort of internet browser, someone would be able to just load all the pictures just fine. Well, do you guys remember back in the day when internet connections were really, really slow? Right? Remember the old dial-up modems that we used to use? And if you remember using those dial-up modems, if you loaded up a web page that had images, and it had a lot of images, do you remember how slowly they used to load in? Some of you guys old enough to remember that? I remember this. I don't remember this very well. I'm only 30, but when I first started using the internet, I was real young, and I'd get on a web page, and if I was on a dial-up modem and it had a lot of images on the page, it took forever for the images to load. Right? You guys remember that? The old classic modem sound, right? We all remember that. Well, so a lot of people wanted to use the internet, but they didn't want to wait for images to load. And so what they would do is they'd turn off the images. They would turn off the loading. And what would show up and replace, or what would show up in the place of the image would be a little bit of text that would define what the picture is about. It's not this text, it's not the image file name, but it's something called the alt tag or the alt text. and that's what would show up. And that's actually still used because Google can read that. It's text that's supposed to explain what the picture is about. The file name can do that to some extent, but you don't want a real long file name. The alt tag can be just a little bit longer, okay? So let me explain what I mean by that. So going back to our Blogger account, here's our image that we're using as an example. If I click on it, I get some of these little options here, and I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see these options just a little bit better. You get some size options. You get whether you want it left, center, or right. You get a caption option, and then you get this properties option. Well, if you click on properties, this section right here is called your alt text. Okay. Now, pretending that this is a hockey picture, since our article is about hockey, I'm going to put in, you know, this is a picture of hockey player holding black stick. Okay. That right there is supposed to describe what the image is about. I'm going to hit OK, and then you'll notice that absolutely nothing happened. In fact, if you look at this image here, you can't see anything at all, and that's because the alt tag is hidden. It's in the code of the page. If you want to see where that code is, you just come over here and you click on HTML. Okay. I clicked on HTML, and you see a bunch of code, right? Well, if you look closely, and I know it's kind of hard to see on your end, I'm going to zoom in just as much as I can. I'm going to look for the code that shows the image. This is the, let's see. This is, let's see. I'm trying to find where it is. Yeah, here's the image right here. Okay, here's the image. It's called Image Alt. See that? Image Alt is just exactly what we did. Hockey player holding black stick, right? That's it. So a little change that we made, but the keyword phrase now actually shows up into the code. And remember, this is actually what Google is looking at when they're scanning your page. Now that we've used an image alt and we're using a relevant keyword phrase, it just gives us a better likelihood of our image being findable in Google, and also it helps our blog page become more relevant. Google can better figure out what our page is about if you do things that way. Had we not made these two changes already, it would have been a lot more confusing to Google. In fact, let me upload that picture again real quick, because you know how we saved it with a new file name? Let me upload it again so it makes a little bit more sense. Here's the image with the new file name. I'm going to upload that in. I know it's the same picture, but it'll look a little bit different in the code. Okay, there's the image. And there you go. So here in the code, you see hockey player with black stick. And then also you see, oh, I didn't set up the alt tag, did I? So I need to go back here, go to properties, alt text, hockey player, black stick, hit OK, and now look at the code, and you'll see that used as well. Okay, you'll see image alt here too. So now Google knows a lot more about this specific image. They have an idea of what it is from the file type. They have a better idea what it is using the image alt tag. Those two things are very, very important to image SEO. Okay. Now, guys, do we need to spend any more time on the alt tag, or is that making some sense? Yeah, and to answer your question, Catherine, the answer is no. So Catherine asked, when changing a name of the image, is it auto updated? So, for example, if you have an image already loaded into your website, if you change the name on your computer, it's not going to auto update the website. So you have to change the name on your computer and then reload it into your website just exactly how we did it right there. Which for some of you guys might mean you need to go back on your blog and start renaming some of your images, and you should. You should. This is all very time-consuming stuff that we're doing, but if you can get in the habit when you create a blog post, whenever you load in an image, to make sure the name is relevant and an alt tag is there, we improve our likelihood of Google understanding our page. And like we said, if that's improved, then there's a good chance we're going to get this image A found, and then B, it'll help our blog post get found as well. Okay. No. So Catherine said, would you be able to use the Properties tab to change the file name? You can't. So you'll notice if I click on the image and I click on Properties, there's a title text right here. This isn't the title of the file. This means something different. In fact, you guys actually don't need to fill this in at all. That doesn't have any real significance to SEO. It won't show up anywhere, but it doesn't have any significance to the SEO, okay? And to answer your question, Sue, how long should it be? Not too long. In fact, I'm going to show you something that comes directly from Google. It's what we were looking at right when we started today. This right here is called Best Practices. This comes from Google's guide to some very beginning entry-level SEO. It says use brief but descriptive file names and alt text. So what they tell us here, Sue, is that it at least needs to be brief, whatever that means, right? If you read on, it says, like many of the other parts of a page targeted for optimization, file names and alt text are best when they're short but descriptive. So a file name shouldn't be a long string, a huge string of keyword phrases. I think it should be descriptive and short, just like Google themselves recommend. Okay? Here's what it says to avoid. Using generic file names like image1.jpg. Okay? We had a generic one until we fixed it just barely. pic.gif or 1.jpg, because those things don't tell us anything about the image. Google can't figure it out. Some sites with thousands of images might consider automating their naming of images. That doesn't apply to you guys. All right, second thing to avoid is writing extremely lengthy file names. Notice they don't give us any hard and fast parameters. They just say, let's keep it short, but let's keep it descriptive. We have to interpret that for whatever. I would assume that means no more than 4 or 5 words. I think that's probably too long. Keep it brief but descriptive, like they said. And then it says avoid stuffing keywords into alt text or copying and pasting entire sentences. Don't try to manipulate them. I mean, if you're going to do alt text, this goes back to what we were talking about a second. If the picture is of a hockey player, don't say that it's of something else. Okay? Make sure it's descriptive to that picture, or else it's not going to help us. We can't trick Google, guys. We can try, but Google is a $500 billion company that seemingly rules the world now, right? You can't trick them, but we play by their rules. And this right here is exactly what their rules are as it relates to images, okay? So, alt text, image file names, short and descriptive, that's all we can really hang our hat on at this stage. So this best practices, I've got a link that I can send you guys. It's called the Search Engine Optimization Starter Guide. It's a little technical if you don't know a lot about SEO. In fact, I probably wouldn't read it if I were you guys, if SEO is sort of brand new to you, but I'm happy to send out the link to all of you. I just sent it out right now. Again, it's called the Search Engine Optimization Starter Guide from Google. So it's almost like the Bible of search engine optimization for beginners. They say beginners, but it's a little technical. So, if you want to look through it, you can, but that's where those recommendations come from, okay? All right. So alt tags and file names. We've covered that. Now let's look at number 3. This part's optional for blogger accounts. You can do this. Do it on occasion. You can add an image caption. It's called. Okay. So let me show you what I mean by that. Let's go back to our blog real quick. There we go. Whoops. Okay, a caption, if you click on the image, you come to a little add caption section, and you can add a little caption just below the image. I could put here picture of a professional hockey player with a black hockey stick. Okay. An image caption is just that. It's a little caption that tells about what the picture is. And there's evidence that if you add a caption that's relevant and it tells people a little bit about the picture, that it can help you from an SEO standpoint. Okay? But what's nice is I think you can change, like, you can make it look a little different than it is. I mean, this doesn't look great. Maybe you can change the font or the size or whatever. I don't use a lot of image captions because Google doesn't really comment on them directly. This is sort of someone else's interpretation of SEO, and they claim that a caption can be helpful. But what we know for sure is that an alt tag is helpful and a file name is helpful. Adding a little caption to your picture can be helpful. So that's why we say it's optional. If you feel like it could use a little bit of an explanation, then go ahead and add a little caption below it. Okay? A lot of our images sort of speak for themselves, so if you don't want to use a caption, that's fine. That's totally fine. Okay? All right, so questions on captions is that pretty straightforward, guys? I'll let you respond as I go on to the next one. Number 4 is the image size, and I say it right here, not too big. Now, what do I mean by not too big? Well, just that. I mean, it's a little subjective, but you don't want an image size that's gigantic, because what happens is when a user comes across a blog that has a bunch of really, really large-sized images, it takes that user longer to download the pictures. And Google looks at the size of pictures. They know how big a file is. And if you have tons and tons and tons of really big ones, Google assumes that the page loading time is going to slow down, and if your page loading time slows too much, that can affect your search engine ranking for your blog. So you'll notice that I had an option earlier when I was downloading some images when I was at Shutterstock. I'll go back to where I was a second ago. Shutterstock is where I get a lot of my images. And when I had the option to download this picture, I could download it in 4 sizes. Small, which is 500 by 334. Medium, which is a 1000 by 667. Large is 4000 by 2600. And then super is 8000 by 5300. That's a gigantic picture. Super 8000 by 5300 would be something that you would use if you were creating like a large banner, you know, to hang as an advertisement outside of a store window or something. Like that's the size of an image that big. Small at 500 pixels. 500 is about the length of a pen. So if you think about it, 500 is the length of a pen. You know, multiply that by 16, and that would be the size of this super image right here. That kind of thing is a problem. Okay, so if I downloaded this really giant picture, and I'm just going to do this as an example for you guys. Let me download this. I'm going to log into my account here. Sign in. Let me see if I can remember my login. Yeah, here we go. Oh well. We'll just use this picture. It's a little bit different, but it'll work. 5500 by 4500. That's the super size of this image. Let me download it. 5723. Okay, this is a big picture. Okay, so it's downloading onto my computer right now. We're saving it. Okay, that should be done. Now let me go back to my blog real quick, guys. Let's delete out our original here. I'm going to remove our original picture. Let's put in my new one. Image icon. Let's choose a file to upload. Let's choose my new one. It's under the download section right here. Look how slowly it's uploading because it's such a big image. It takes a minute for it to upload. There it is. Now it's not big here because it's shrunken down, okay? But I'm going to add it to my blog. And there it is. It's pretty good sized. If I click on it, it's in its medium form. If I hit its original size, there's the picture right there. I know you guys probably have a hard time seeing that because it's small on your screen, but the picture's huge. Okay? I'm going to preview the blog. There's my picture right there. Now, obviously, that doesn't look very good on the blog, but the point is, if you did have a large picture like this on your blog, it would slow down your loading time, and it could hurt your SEO. And if you download it like this, even if on my blog I size it down to this medium, so it's not as big, and I preview, look how small it looks here. But that's the trick. It's not that small. It's still that giant file size. My Blogger account is just sizing it down. So even though it shows up small here, it's still a gigantic file. So I would advise you guys, if you do get access to a really big picture, especially if you take your own pictures from a camera, camera pictures are often really, really big. You need to take those in and size them down to something more reasonable. 500 pixels is a good that's a good standard on a lot of sites. No more than 500 pixels on one side is a good enough size. Just don't bring in the large file and size it down thinking your image is smaller because it's actually not. Okay? Does that make sense? This isn't really a webinar for women or for image editing, but I thought I would share that anyway because it relates to our SEO. Questions about that, guys, or does that make sense? We all clear on that? Or is there something about the images here that I can clarify? Yeah? Okay. All right. So let's just recap here why we're doing this. We're really concerned about image SEO because in a blog post that you guys write, we want these blogs to get found in Google. Like we're working really hard on our blog because there's a good chance it can get found in Google. You give it a better chance if you'll just do some little SEO things along the way. And in this case, make sure you do a good job on your image SEO. Name it something relevant, right? Optimize it with an alt tag. Maybe put a caption on it. Maybe do that on some images, but not others. That's an optional thing. And then make sure your image isn't too big. If you guys will do that consistently, and I know we spent probably 30, 40 minutes on this subject, but in practice, it should only take you a second to do this kind of stuff. To change the file name, to give it an alt tag, it'll just take you a minute, and then you're done, and you can move on with the rest of your blog content. But it does make a significant difference, and you'll get more traffic to your blog if you do it like this. Okay? Okay, so that's what I wanted to cover. There's other parts of SEO for a blog that we're going to be covering in other webinars. This is just a part of it. H tags are still relevant. Meta tags, where possible, you still do. You want to have good, unique content that's not copied. That's something that we've already talked about. You want to use your keyword phrase throughout the text of your blog. That's something that we haven't had a chance to talk about, but we will. This is just for the image SEO, okay? All right, questions before we sign off? I'll give you guys a sec to ask, and if not, we'll sign off and we'll pick up on more marketing and SEO training next week when we get together. And yeah, to answer your question, Robert, Moz keyword research is great for blogging. So as you create a piece of content for your blog, if you want to do some keyword research and come up with quality keywords from the Moz tool, you're welcome to do that, because you want to optimize your blog around, you know, 1 or 2 keyword phrases, and you want them to be reasonable ones that you think you can rank for. Moz is great for that, so absolutely you can. To your question, Jolene, your blog is going to appear. It's kind of like its own website. So Jolene asked if or where the blog actually shows up. Well, it doesn't show up on your website, but most websites will have a link to the blog, and the blog sort of stands on its own as its own site. So if you've got an e-commerce website, we'd probably create a link from your blog, or sorry, from your e-commerce website over to your blog, and it would be its own separate site. Good question. Sorry, Robert. Spell what? Are you talking about Moz? If so, it's moz.com. M as in mother, OZ.com. Got it? Okay. All this SEO stuff, it seems a little ticky-tacky, right? It's a lot of little things to remember, but it makes a difference if you'll do it well. Thanks for coming along, guys. We'll see you guys all next time, Thursday night, same time, same place. We'll teach you more SEO from there. Oh, Catherine, I saw a question come in just before we signed off. Let me see what this is. When we create blog posts, we cannot use website link to blog, but need to go to the admin site. Yeah, so when I'm just trying to make sure I understand the question. So like when you're trying to create blog content, you have to use the admin for the blog, which for me on this account is my Blogger account right here. This is where I would log in to editing my blog. And if you're on your marketing Gmail, Catherine, it would be, you would come up and you'd click on this little icon right here in your Gmail, and if you came down to Blogger, that would take you to your admin for your blog. That's how that would work. Okay, all right, I'm going to sign off, guys. We'll see you all next time. Thanks for coming along.